Hello and welcome to the wonderful world of sound. Yes, the sound of a common household ant magnified 300,000 times. And now...
This is Mac OS Ken.
iPhone gets a bigger share in the US. Fightin' words between Apple and Spotify. And Apple stand against CSAM detection plans. It is Friday, the 23rd of February, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you. Patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. Leading off with iPhone again. What is this, 2008? It is not 2008, but we are leading off with iPhone again. iPhone share got bigger last month in the shrinking US smartphone market. That is the latest word from Counterpoint Research. Doesn't mean sales did well, though. They slipped too, according to the market tracker, just not as much as everybody else's. U.S. smartphone sales declined 10% year-on-year in January by Counterpoint's count. Two things tanked the U.S. smartphone market: weakness on the low end of the smartphone range, and people holding off at the high end, waiting for whatever Samsung was expected to debut. And that is on the way. Counterpoint senior analyst Maurice Klain says the market is likely to see a rebound in February, especially as the Galaxy S24 series becomes available. While the U.S. smartphone market as a whole was down 10%, iPhone sales were only down low single digits, according to the firm. Research director Jeff Fieldhack is quoted in the report saying we continue to see strong promotions for the iPhone 15 series and postpaid, while there remains significant interest in older models like the iPhone 11 and iPhone 12 among cost-conscious consumers in prepaid. This combination is enabling Apple to maintain stability in a market experiencing double-digit declines. This is good for share gains and great for the iOS installed base. The war of words between Apple and Spotify seems to be ratcheting up. We heard a report earlier this week that the EU is likely to levy a €500 million fine against Apple for favoring its own streaming music service on iPhone over the likes of Spotify, and Spotify. Singling out Spotify because it was a formal complaint by that service 5 years ago that set events in motion leading to the alleged €500 million fine. Now Mac Rumors says it's heard from Apple on the issue. Addressing the situation, Apple told the site, "We're happy to support the success of all developers, including Spotify, which is the largest music streaming app in the world. Spotify pays Apple nothing for the services that have helped them build, update, and share their app with Apple users in 160 countries spanning the globe. Fundamentally, their complaint is about trying to get limitless access to all of Apple's tools without paying anything for the value Apple provides." Do those sound like fighting words? They seem to have to Spotify. In an update to its post, Mac Rumors ran a statement from the largest music streaming app in the world. According to the company, Spotify's success has happened despite Apple's best efforts to gain an artificial advantage by favoring their own music service at every turn while placing roadblocks and imposing unfair restrictions on ours. Under their current rules, Apple controls Spotify's access to its own customers and gives Spotify one of two untenable options. We either have to deliver a poor user experience where we can't directly communicate how to buy or subscribe to Spotify on iPhones, or we have to accept a 30% cost disadvantage against our biggest competitor. This is not a level playing field. We support the European Commission and trust that they will take action soon to create a fair ecosystem for everyone involved. I live for the day that this fight ends and fear that it never will. Apple has a warning for the Australian government. scanning messages and photos on the cloud for child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, would compromise the privacy and safety of every user. Hold on a second, weren't they? Yeah, but that was then and this is now. A piece from The Guardian indicates that Australia has proposed 2 mandatory standards: the detection and removal of CSAM and pro-terror material where technically feasible, and the disruption and deterrence of new material like it. According to the report, the regulator has stressed in an associated discussion paper it does not advocate building in weaknesses or backdoors to undermine privacy and security on end-to-end encrypted services. So how would they do what they're trying to do? Well, perhaps the way Apple proposed a couple of years ago. A hash would be made of images, and that hash would be compared to the hashes of known CSAM material. After a few matches, well, I honestly don't remember because Apple slowed the initiative before stopping it entirely. If you don't remember why, a piece from 9to5Mac gives us a good reminder. Apple announced its plan, then people freaked out, arguing a digital fingerprint could be created for any type of material, not just CSAM. There's nothing to stop an authoritarian government adding to the database images of political campaign posters or stuff like that. Back in 2021, 9to5Mac argued that a tool designed to target serious criminals could be trivially adapted to detect those who oppose a government or one or more of its policies. Apple, who would receive the fingerprint database from governments, would find itself unwittingly aiding repression or worse of political activists. Apple said it would never do such a thing, though that was seen as an unrealistic promise since Apple abides by the laws in the countries in which it does business, and laws have been known to change. Eventually, Apple realized and acknowledged the danger in its hash of a plan. Now it stands where its opponents did, in opposition to the proposed rules in Australia. According to Apple, according to The Guardian, scanning for particular content opens the door for bulk surveillance of communications and storage systems that hold data pertaining to the most private affairs of many Australians. Such capabilities, history shows, will inevitably expand to other content types, such as images, videos, text, or audio, and other content categories. Tools of mass surveillance have widespread negative implications for freedom of opinion and expression, and by extension, democracy as a whole. And countries that lack the robust legal protections afforded to Australians will leverage this and expand on it. They speak as a corporation converted, and yet that is not Apple's only concern. The Guardian has the Cupertino company saying, yeah, you say you don't advocate weakening security and end-to-end encryption, but you haven't stipulated that in, the proposed law. Apple recommends that the governing body adopt a clear and consistent approach expressly supporting end-to-end encryption so that there is no uncertainty and confusion or potential inconsistency across codes and standards. Also, that where technically feasible thing, technically vague. The Guardian has Apple indicating that that wording was too narrow and was focused on the cost to develop a new system without considering whether a particular product design change is in the best interests of securing its users. It's unclear at this point how much Australia is prepared to hear and change. One politician is quoted by The Guardian saying, "There are many technical issues and a lot of good feedback in the 50 submissions they received around the plans." The politician went on to say, they'll incorporate what they can and what they think makes sense and provides greater clarity. Well, that feels... So I don't want to panic any Apple Vision Pro owners listening in, but there's a story of interest about the headset from Apple Insider. They've got multiple users on Reddit sharing pictures of a crack in the front glass of Apple's spatial computer. Two things make the pics particularly notable. The cracks are turning up in the same place, right at the nose bridge, and the posters say they turned up for no reason. No drop, no damage. Here's what's weird, though. There are no similar reports on the Apple forums or There weren't when the piece was written anyway, nor have any turned up on Twitter. Additionally, Apple Insider reached out to its secret Apple retail peeps at 20-plus stores in the States. According to the nameless so-and-sos, there have been no Genius Bar appointments at their stores tied to such a break. That is not to accuse malfeasance on the part of the people posting to Reddit. In fact, folks in that neck of the digital woods think they may know what's going on. According to the report, each account claims they left the Apple Vision Pro connected to the battery pack and stored it overnight. Conjecture believes that charging with a soft cover on while in the travel case may create a problem with overheating the glass, leading to expansion and a crack at the weakest point. So maybe don't do that and keep an eye out, but don't freak out. More search ads in more countries. 9to5Mac says Apple is expanding the, let's say service into the Latin American region. With search ads, the piece explains, ads can be targeted to show up in the Today app, at the bottom of app product pages, at the top of search results, and in the search tab's suggested section. New countries, let's say welcoming the ads, include Brazil, Bolivia, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, and Paraguay. With the new additions, 9to5Mac says app developers will be able to market in more than 70 countries through Apple Search ads. Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, and Killers of the Flower Moon director Martin Scorsese has been granted another accolade. Apple Insider says the filmmaker was awarded this week with an honorary Golden Bear at the Berlin International Film Festival. While the award was honoring Scorsese's entire body of work, the piece says his recent Apple original served as the evening's kickoff. According to the report, the ceremony began with an orchestral performance of the Killers of the Flower Moon score by Robbie Robertson. That was played against selected scenes from the film. Past directors to receive the award include Steven Spielberg, Oliver Stone, and Billy Wilder, just to name a few. Both the award presentation and an extended interview with Scorsese are available now on YouTube. And finally today, springing on us like the great noiseless springing spider of Saskatoon. It's real, I promise. No need to look it up. Anyway, Apple TV Plus is dropping a whole, previously unannounced as far as I know, docuseries today. The Cupertino streamer issued a press release Thursday revealing the trailer and the world premiere for Earthsounds. It sounds like it's spelled. Filmed over 1,000 days across 3.5 years, the release says Earthsounds reveals our planet like never before, our world buzzing with unexpected, unfamiliar, and untold sonic stories that we have never been able to capture until now. But who's going to tell us what we're hearing? Why, it's Golden Globe winner and Emmy Award nominee Tom Hiddleston. In the press release, Hiddleston says, I loved narrating Earthsounds because I already smoked all that Marvel money. Kidding, just seeing if you're paying attention. I loved narrating Earthsounds, he said. Offspring Films and Apple TV Plus have created something totally unique to see and hear the natural world in such extraordinary, intimate detail is utterly thrilling. It inspires wonder and awe. Man, that all sounds so natural. From the Queensland rainforest to the Arctic ice shelf to the Namibian dunes, producers gathered over 3,000 hours of audio for the series. You can catch the trailer now on YouTube, or, you know what? Get thee to a screen. All 12 episodes of Earthsounds should be streaming now on Apple TV+. macOS Can, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOScan. advertising handle by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.